very
I love
briefly,
it.
like,
Great
okay,
idea.
all right. And I will also preface by saying I haven't talked to a group of people in this format in a really long time. So I'm feeling a little bit silly, but like larger picture, I'm just really glad that we're here talking about something that I'm personally really excited about. And yeah, if nothing else, I'm just glad that we're joining each other here right now in all these different time zones. So without further ado, I'm gonna pull this up
Right
and
here. This one.
this one.
Yeah.
Okay. Is it
Okay.
working?
Yeah.
It's working.
And now remember
Okay.
to keep it engaging, 30 seconds per slide.
I'm gonna try to be brief, you guys. I promise. Anyway, so as I said, I'm Lauren, and this is my husband, Tiago, and we're in Costa Rica at the moment. We have two little ones, Maya, who is 3 in a few days, and Koa, who just turned 1. We've got a couple of dogs from Mexico. And yeah, I mean, we all found each other. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Because I had written in the Facebook group asking if anybody else had ever thought about co living together. And it turns out there's a lot of people who are interested in co living. Actually, I think like as of today, there were over 320 people who commented on the post, which for me has just been so mind blowing. And it's really inspiring that there are so many people who are into this idea of not just traveling and seeing the world and showing that to our kids, but the idea of doing it together. So it's very clear that we share a common desire, and then we want a deeper sense of community and belonging as we navigate the adventures and the challenges of raising families wherever we are in the world. So pretty much we were just into sharing a little bit more about us, and then like a very basic overview of how we see family co-living, and then open up the floor to hear. Hope that we can have a discussion with an open mind so that we can share thoughts and ideas freely, and more importantly, just kind of dream up of what co-living in other parts of the world can look like with each other. So Tiago is from Portugal, I'm from the US, and we met in Mexico, and we had kids. We had Maya pretty quickly into our marriage, our relationship together. And so the concept of home has been less about a physical place for that reason and more about connections and sense of community. And actually our co-living journey didn't really start with a plan, but we were traveling pretty much right out the gate with Maya, and we were consciously like visiting our friends who had kids around the world. And so without fully realizing it, we were living this co-living concept, like sharing the meals and sharing childcare and stories and support for different periods of time. And it was a really eye-opening experience for us and really enriching. And the joy and the sense of belonging that we felt during these times felt unmatched for us. And it was very, very clear that we wanted more of it. And like, this is how we wanted to do it. That said, it's easier said than done. We quickly realized that maintaining this sense of village while we're on the move is no small feat. Building a community, it takes chemistry, it takes time, shared values, lots of logistics, which is not something we can always afford when we're on the go. And because we want to travel, there's not always all the pieces coming together in time to do the travel. And so despite the excitement and the fulfillment of the travel, we have often found ourselves longing for those deeper and more sustained connections, particularly for our kids. So this is what sparked the idea to seek out more families with who we could share the experience with and the journey. But really, we had absolutely no idea that there would be so many people into the idea. So yeah, we have sort of in our mind tried to define what family co-living is to us. And for us, it's about sharing the journey together. To put it very simply, it combines private living with community engagement, offering a blend of autonomy and shared experiences. So this can look many different ways. We know that there are the ways of doing it where there's like one big house where everyone has their own private room and then many shared living spaces. We know that there are like tiny home villages or like little, or big pieces of land with different houses and then shared community spaces. There's different models as we know, for different family dynamics and preferences. So some of the benefits that we know that we actually shared with as many people as we could who had responded to the post with a form to see like what benefits people are most into in terms of co-living. And what we found is that I think the leading one is the shared experience. So more than 35% of people who responded to the post said that they're into sharing the general experience. So along with me imagining a world where we're sharing the journey with other families is the norm. The kids have instant playmates and we're sharing a community where we all just sort of like get each other all under the same roof, not scattered all over the world or having the roadblocks of like the day to day and trying to match each other's schedules. And well, we know all the roadblocks as we all have kids. Another one is growing and learning together. So more than 30% of us expressed that we're keen on this aspect, which for me is the opportunity to expand one another and have unique learning experiences in a unique environment. Sharing skills, developing those in a supportive setting. A couple of examples is that we lived with a family whose father was a therapist. And so he really set some great examples for us. Children's therapist.
Yeah.
And it was, a really good way to open us up to many ways of parenting that we still use today. We've also lived with a family where the mother was a professional flamenco dancer and the father is a professional guitarist for flamenco, which for our daughter, who is very, very into music, she got to have that exposure, and it was an amazing experience for her and for us. So for us, it would be amazing if we could blend together different backgrounds and learning opportunities, or for those who homeschool, maybe coming up with some sort of plan around education as well. Over 20% of people expressed that they cherish and maybe even breathe a sigh of relief with the idea of sharing responsibilities and resources. In our experience and personal interest, co-living actually significantly lowers the cost of rent and helps alleviate some of the financial and parenting pressures that kind of come with parenting in isolation and the whole idea of like doing it all, which I know we all think we can do, and I know we do it. There's something really amazing that comes with co-living, of just having that shared experience of sharing the responsibilities as a collective. And we also know that with co-living also comes the opportunity to live in parts of the world where we might not have been able to. Like, well, we haven't been there yet, but in our mind, Hawaii is a place we would like to go. But we've also heard that it's very expensive, and in some of the research we've done, we would be able to like share a living space with other families and actually be able to like financially afford living there for a bit of time. In terms of also responsibilities, like we've also been lucky enough to live with both nutritionists and chefs, which has meant eating very healthy food, also really good food. So taking a load off of having to provide like meals every single day, while we happily take on watching the kids while the meals are being cooked and cleaning. And those are just examples of some exchanges that have been really nice for us. Lastly, on this note, I wanted to share that we've had an au pair before, and we've had some like trips with friends before where we've also had an au pair. And that's, I don't know, an idea that we keep wanting to like plant the seed for, to see how it might work out for like extra hands-on in childcare to help alleviate some of the time and the pressure. And then really briefly, like some concerns that people expressed in the forum as well is privacy. And for us as well, I think for everybody. But in all the places that we've personally have looked at for like co-living, there always seems to be space in these houses where you can find respite from the group. And I think as families who come together, if that's something that is discussed ahead of time, then I think it's something that everyone in turn values. So yeah, in these living spaces, think of like private rooms or even private houses that are equipped with essential amenities that you need to live, so you can take this space when you need it for however long you need it. And on that note, chaos. With families come chaos, especially kids of all kinds. Yeah, the chaos creators, some of us like to call them, which they can be. But similar to privacy, and personally, myself as an introvert, I definitely understand the need for balance. And I think that co living designs can incorporate quiet spaces that address the needs of those who need silent times amidst the communal living. Actually, in my experience, co-living has meant that it has been easier to take breaks that I need, because there seems to always be someone or people around willing to kind of like tap in and take on the chaos of the kids while I take a short break, and vice versa. And it's just has been a really nice exchange in my experience. And then flexibility, freedom, and finances. So I know, because we've done a lot of research, that there's a lot of different like co-living programs out there. There's some of those like traveling nomadic villages where it's like the same group of people that travel to a bunch of countries, and you pay like a big price up front to do it, and then they sort of figure it all out. I know there are some that are more permanent in physical locations, and like you might have some of the same people there, but again, it's quite like a hefty price up front. And then in terms of like just co-living places that you can tap in and out of for like different period of rentals, we haven't found anything that has been family oriented. And so for us personally, we're looking for something more flexible and a little bit more casual. So like picking a few potential places, finding the families who might align with us and with the places, and then renting a space together for a period of time. I know it can look different for different families. Different families are looking for different things possibly, but we don't expect like a lifetime commitment from families who want to try co-living with us, whether it's just a week or a month. I don't want any of our hands to be tied, so people can move on when they need to or want to. You might want to find families for the next place or when the time comes. Yeah, we don't like we're just a family looking for other families to live with. So we don't have any sort of program. We're just trying to pinpoint the places we want to live and the families who might resonate with us and those places as well. So that has been a big question for us. Like before we made the post, and then after talking to so many of you guys as we were trying to figure out if we should do a virtual meetup or not, one of the big questions has been, how do we find the right families to co-live with? And we've been lucky to co-live with families, or sorry, with friends and with some of our family that we already know that we connect with. But with strangers, we've wondered like, how do we go about this? And I do think a lot comes out of just conversations like this, even though it's not necessarily physically in person. You can kind of get a first impression and then set up a couple of calls and feel it out. But a lot of time goes into it. And that's not necessarily something we all have a lot of. So, from the 300 plus people who wrote saying that they're into or curious about co living, a lot of people, as I said, shared the same question. And because I personally wrote back and forth with a lot of you, it started really lighting something up in me, and sharing with Tiago as well, like this feeling of connecting families. And on a personal note, before all of this and before I had kids, I was working for a startup where I was doing a lot of connecting with people in the community, and it sort of reignited that back up in me. And I've been very, very, very excited these last couple of weeks after talking to so many of you. So I've been trying to figure out how to make this all tangible. Like, how do we all find a family or families that we jive with, that we might want to try out co-living with? And so it gave me the idea that maybe in some way I can help try to match families who want to try this out. The idea being to connect like-minded families based off factors that would make co-living feel enriching and aligned and avoiding like the bigger challenges that would just come with winging it. And it would also save a lot of time, I think, for the people who are into doing this. So on a side note, for those who might be interested, Tiago, I actually I reviewed it, but Tiago is like the mastermind with this sort of tech thing. And he has the background of being and I'm gonna totally blank now. I feel like the lateness descending on me. The
Experience.
user experience. Thank you. I've done a lot of surveys too back in my day, but like this is totally his area. But yeah, together we with the idea and with him working behind the computer came up with a Google form that's more detailed than the original one that I had sent that would in essence sort of capture your unique family story and your values and your lifestyle and your budget and the destinations you're hoping to go to. And then with that, I can try and match you with the other families that seem to have alignment with. So once I start seeing the connections, I can exchange like contacts with the families that seem to match. And then you guys can take it from there. From from the meetup we have on Friday, and hopefully more in tandem with this form and whatever else transpires from the conversations that I've been having from that Facebook post I made in the group. Yeah, I'm just getting very, very lit up about the idea of actually making this a reality for us and for other families who are serious about wanting to try and do the co-living thing. So if you're interested in this experiment that we're going to try and run, we will share the form with you. And if you feel like taking the time to fill it out, then we can we can go ahead and try and match you with other families. Anyway, like I said, it's an experiment. And if you're interested and have the time, then yeah, we'd love to try it out with you. On that note, I think that there's magic of compatibility. I think we don't always realize, well, my belief is that compatibility doesn't mean finding people who are carbon copies of us, but aligning where it's important, like those shared values. Enough alignment where there's flow, yet different enough for you to expand each other in beautiful ways. And I do think that's one of the things that draws us all here and doing the world schooling thing is because we're looking to expand and to learn. But I imagine a community where families fit together and they share values and interests, and it lays the foundation for lasting friendships and collective growth. So we'll send the form in an email and you can take a look. Maybe Tiago, you can even like link the form in the chat if that's even technically possible. I'm not sure. And those who want to fill it out, we can see where it goes and welcome to hear feedback on that as well. And I'm going to stop talking very, very soon, I promise. But before I do, some of the research that we were doing for places where we would want to live, we're in Costa Rica right now, which is why we were looking in this region. And Mexico is a place we personally love. We got curious about what sort of houses are out there that would be suitable for families who want to co-live together. And I'm fine with sharing our personal budget. I think I would say we're on the lower end, but I'm actually not sure. There are people whose budget is even lower than us. Ideally, we'd want our housing budget to be as low as possible, but our maximum is in the 1,200 to 1,400 range. If you've ever gone on Airbnb, you will see that there are like huge houses and villas that they rent for a ridiculous amount of money. But we just started getting in touch with some of them to see who would be open to the idea of allowing the space to be used for co-living for families. And it turns out that there are people who are really excited about the idea of using their space for families who want to co-live together. A lot of people who have these houses actually have families of their own. And so I think that's why they're keen on it. But yeah, these are two examples of people who we've been in contact with who are giving like really, really, really good deals to us if we want to rent it out for ourselves to co-live with other families that fit our like lower end budget. And so, yeah, these are just like we took pictures from the Airbnbs themselves, but you can see there's like some shared common spaces, but then there's private rooms, these ones in particular, that have like kitchenettes built into them. So you can kind of like isolate when you need the space, but then use the communal areas as well. So we haven't moved forward with either of these yet. I think we are hoping to see if we could find some families who'd be interested in co-living with us or with others before moving forward. But maybe that's like a separate meetup or an email with like the logistics and the specifics of these living spaces. But this just goes to show, I guess, that it turns out that there are a lot of really great places that are open and accessible to families who want to co-live together and not for a ridiculous price, which is always a bonus. Okay, and then lastly, again, we're very personally excited to find families who we align with that might be in the places that we're traveling to this year. Right now, we're in Costa Rica, and then we're going to visit my side of the family in the US for a 1 month period in July and August. And then coming back most likely to Central America. So maybe Panama, maybe Nicaragua, maybe Mexico. We also have some ideas for Peru, where we have a great friend who has amazing like co-living space opportunity for us. So I think we're looking to find the families who might be open to the locations we're going to be at this year and see if we can do some co-living. I'm going to stop the presentation now so that we can just look at faces. And thank you for bearing with me.